If you were to take the collective genius of the biggest names in music, film, and high technology and roll it up into a big ball, you would have, well, this. Meet Claymation. He is the first offspring of DreamWorks Interactive. DWI, as it's called, is the joint venture between Microsoft and DreamWorks SKG. Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, David Geffen, and Bill Gates joined forces to produce interactive entertainment software.
The significance is, basically you've got these big names, and especially with Spielberg, you have the talent pool that he brings with him.
The Neverhood is DreamWorks Interactive's first release. While everyone else is using 3D graphics, special effects, weaponry, and blood and guts, DWI is using clay.
We decided to do real 3D using clay, which casts real shadows, has real highlights, has real fingerprints on it, and real bounce lights, and kind of has more of a believable effect. People keep saying that they believe that they're in the Neverhood when they play the game. They believe that they are Claymation, because the character, he is real, just his movements are fake.
Doug TenNapel created the Neverhood. He used 3.5 tons of clay to create a world of odd creatures, dark passageways, man-eating plants, and Claymation. Claymation, the unlikely hero who you, as the game player, help to defeat the evil foe and restore benevolence to the Neverhood. Steven Spielberg says he's thrilled with how the game turned out.
The Neverhood is a wonderful adventure, but it's also a zany adventure. It's filled with humor and sight gags, and it's just great.
If initial reviews of the Neverhood are any indication of how well the game will do, DWI's first release could blow away its competition. In Los Angeles, this is David Winter reporting.
Yeah, so there's another really cool thing. Go back to the recipe book.
That, what a confidence in the back there, the gate is round.
Bob the car guy?
This is clay on a metal skeleton.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh my God. Well, clay is something that kids can do, for one thing, so they can identify with it. Because they actually own clay, they play with it, they make snowmen and monsters and all sorts of things out of it, and dinosaurs, and they understand how clay works. So there's much more, that aesthetic distance is cut way down when a kid looks at claymation in an interactive game, because it reminds that child that they could also be doing that themselves. They're good titles, and they're good product, and they're the kind of things that I would go out and buy for my own children. And all I wanted to do with DreamWorks Interactive was to be able to bring something home to my kids that they would like.
The Neverhood exists in black space. It is a neighborhood that may never exist, thus the Neverhood, based on the moral decisions of the player who plays a character named Claymon. The Neverhood uses over 3.5 tons of clay. There's 50,000 frames of animation in this whole thing. We shot the whole thing in 1 year with 5 animators. It is the most extensive use of clay and puppet animation ever to hit a video game to date. We may beat ourselves someday, but it won't be this year.
When you're taking real photographs of, actual physical, dimensional media like clay, then it lends a whole new character to it, and it's something that, even though it's completely otherworldly, people can relate to it more than a sterile, flat world that is created by computer graphics. The Neverhood, I put the disc in, thinking, oh, this is kind of cute, and the intro was good enough. And I started playing it, and it seemed quirky at first, and I didn't put it down. I played it 8.5 hours straight. I played the entire game in one sitting. So you tell me. I loved it. It was really a fun game.
Make way for the Neverhood, a strategy game where the hero has a definite purpose.
The game is about a little man made out of clay named Claymon, and it's kind of a morality play. He has to find out why he exists and how the world was made.
You can't say that's not a challenge. It all starts when Hobor, the lonely ruler of a magical world, creates a fantastic land out of clay. The clay is magic, and soon all the inhabitants of the Neverhood come to life. As always, there's a baddie lurking somewhere, and one of Hobor's creations called Clog plans to overthrow his ruler. This is where Clayman, therefore you, come in. You guessed it, it's up to you to save the day. The Neverhood comes from Steven Spielberg's company DreamWorks and was created by Doug Tenapple, the man responsible for the action hero Earthworm Jim. The quirky humor and zany characters in his latest game have Earthworm Jim's distinctive touch written all over them. There's no doubt that the game looks absolutely wild. You can even see the fingerprints in the clay. Speaking of the clay, the game's creators used over 3 tons of the stuff for the sets and the characters. They brought it all to life by stop-motion animation.
Basically, you move it a little bit and take a picture, move it a little bit, take a picture. 1 second of animation takes 15 frames.
This all sounds neat, but what about the all-important gameplay? You basically have to solve a series of puzzles which become more difficult as you go along. On the way, you'll meet some strange and very weird-looking enemies. You'll need to use your mind, not your muscles, to overpower them. The puzzles are moderately challenging, and the bosses are fun to kick around. The Claymation-style animation is really incredible, and on a fast computer, they move very smoothly. If you're tired of flight sims and shoot-'em-ups, the Neverhood for Windows 95 is an amusing alternative for your computer entertainment.
Hi, and welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee. Well, you know by now what a computer game is going to look like, right? The genre, the style of computer games has sort of been established, but just a minute, there actually is a new game coming out that has a totally different look from any game you've seen before, and that's your baby, Mark, which is the Neverhood. And the reason it's so different is you guys didn't use traditional computer animation, but Claymation, right? Tell us why you decided to do that.
Computer-generated images are against our religion. We chose to do
the Claymation religion. Huh?
Yes, we chose to do our game in clay just so it would have that warmth and friendliness of being a real environment with real objects in it.
But what did it take to do that? I mean, I imagine that's harder than doing traditional computer animation in terms of labor.
It is, because the sets have to really be built and sculpted. The puppets have to be constructed and fabricated out of steel armatures and latex.
How much clay did it take to do this?
We used about 3 or 3.5 tons of clay.
Wow. And the other thing I like about the game is the music. Again, you don't have typical computer music in this either, do you?
No, we have real bouncy, friendly Dixieland jazz.
It's all acoustic music.
Yeah, we had our musician friend Terry Taylor compose and record live, and there's no MIDI sequencing or drum machines or synthesizers.
All right, let's go see what the game looks like. This is where the game actually begins, Mark?
Yes.
So that's me, the Clayman?
This is Clayman. So you begin the game. This is when Clayman is newborn. He just wakes up in this room, and you don't know who he is, and he doesn't know who he is.
And the whole interface is just that mouse pointer, right? There's
Right.
nothing
you
else
just click
to do.
on things, and Clayman does what you asked him to.
So obviously I'm trying to get out of this room here.
Yeah,
and
I've just
solved
pulled this
that
little
problem.
lever 3 times,
Okay.
which is enough to break down the door.
Now that animation is really, really delightful. It's such a cute looking. All right, so we're in our second room here, and now I got to figure out how to get out of this room.
Yes.
Now there's this really dangerous looking thing right underneath there. If I
Right.
jump, can you die in this game?
You can't die,
Looks like it.
but you're okay.
You just sort of pop. Well, just clay.
Yeah.
What the heck? Huh?
Yeah, well, what
All
you're
right.
doing is just building up a body of experience that you'll use later on in the game.
Now, so I got to figure out how to get out that next door.
Right.
Well, I would press the red button as my first
All right.
instinct.
Let's click the red button.
So again, the interface, just click on the button, he'll come over and do it.
Right.
Not the solution.
Yes, usually not the obvious.
Okay. How about the rings hanging from the ceiling?
Let's click on one and find out what happens.
So just click on the ring, he'll jump up and pull it. Nothing. How about that one that's sort of teasing me that's hanging a little bit lower than the rest of them?
All right.
That's what you gamers think, right?
You're pretty sharp.
Opens the door.
Now I'll click the door to exit.
Not so easy. All right, so I got to do something with that Venus flytrap.
I'll give
obviously.
away the solution.
All right.
That's to
Help me out of
push-
room 2.
Push the Venus flytrap in underneath that teaser ring. And when you pull it down, he'll hold it for you.
So when I pull the same ring, Venus guy helps me, and now I get out into the next room. So this is, in this sense, it's sort of your typical kind of adventure game. I do have puzzles to solve, rooms to go to. But
Yeah.
what's sort of the object of the game? What am I trying to do as Clayman?
Well, the game exists on several levels. It's accessible to anyone. Even a small child could just explore the world and not try to solve any of the puzzles or fulfill the ultimate quest. But for the serious gamer, you can skip the lighthearted entertainment part of it and just go straight for the puzzles.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go play this game. Thank you very much.
このゲームを作ったのがその名もネバーフッド社。この人が企画監督のダグラス・テンネーペル。
Yeah. So you guys, he had it digitized for you, or did you get to?
ダグの手によってクレーマンはこの世に誕生したのだ。
And tilt his head down a little bit.
ただしゲームになるまでには大変な手間と時間がかかっている。
animation now.
5万フレーム以上のコマ撮りや3トンもの粘土を使用するなど壮絶な作業の末にようやく完成したのだ。ではクレーマンの活躍を見てみよう。
This is a 1/12.
キュー。
クレイマンは世界初の全編クレーメーションのゲームです。企画監督は異色のポップアーティストダグ・テンナペル。映画界の巨匠スピルバーグに見出された彼の才能が十二分に表現されたのがこのクレイマンです。なんと3トンものクレイを使い5万フレームものコマ撮りの果てに完成したクレイマン。まさに映画的な大掛かりな手法ときめ細やかな演出を施したからこそハイセンスでビットあふれる一級品のエンターテインメントに仕上がりました。
You know, I've met a lot of people in this industry, but no one is as zany as Doug TenNapel. So let's catch a lift on Mr. TenNapel's wild ride as he takes us on a tour of his somewhat unbalanced studio.
Hi, I'm Doug TenNapel, and we're showing you a bunch of animated techniques we used on the Neverhood and our brand new game called Skullmonkeys.
I am the king of all Skullmonkeys.
This is my desk, and I keep it a mess, thank you, because my mom doesn't work here with me. This is one of the Skullmonkey puppets, and we have real human hair on them. Many humans gave their lives so that this monkey might come to be. This is one of the heroes, one of our little Claymanites, and he has a wire armature, and these are painstakingly sculpted across a period of about 2 months. They each cost about 15 grand to sculpt. I'm gonna set him down over here. This shows how posable he is. Yeah, you sit on the couch there. Okay. What's that guy? This is one of our other puppets. His name is the Weasel.
Hey, Doug.
Oh, hey, Tom.
How's it going, man?
Tommy, get up.
Hey, what?
Look.
What? What?
Come on. I'm going to show you some of the programmers. Follow me. This is Kenton. And he's one of our heavy programmers. He weighs about 400 pounds. This is Mark Lorenzen. He's the original creator of Vector Man. This is Joe. He's one of our game designers. And he used to run a 7-Eleven. No, Joe is actually the first human we've ever put in a video game. We photographed his head as one of the bosses called Joe Head Joe. And he designed some of the puzzles. Ow! He designed the puzzles that Claymon actually has to traverse through the game. This is our game, a rough version of it anyways, to test. And you see Claymon, he butt bounces these evil Skullmonkeys. They're monkeys with human skulls for heads. We pull from toys. This is our toy box. We steal these toys and nail them to wood and cover them in clay. And you get these cool abstract shapes. Tommy, what did I say about touching things? That's a no. This is Monk Rushmore. This is our tribute to all the great dead Skullmonkey presidents. This is our whiteboard where we keep all of our ideas and organization, as you can see. Hardly any ideas and hardly any organization here at all. This is Mike Dietz. Mike is the lead animator. He was also the lead animator on Earthworm Jim 1 and 2, and Aladdin, and Global Gladiators, and Cool Spot, and many others, to name a couple others. This is Chuck Norris. Chuck is inventing time travel. He's invented this coding way of going through time. It's really amazing. Tommy, get your pants back on. Fat Lou gets all pissed off. He'll come over and punch you out.
Sorry, Fat Lou.
Lou, show your tattoos you got in prison.
Doug's mom did all the work. See, she's the only person I trust. It's kind of work.
This is our pet scorpion that Lou here is going to handle. Okay, if I touch his pincher, will I be a man?
No! I got your finger! Doug, don't do it!
And she does cool things when you put fluorescent light on her. She glows. See that?
Yeah.
Is that boss or what? Lewis is in charge of our actual game test department, and he tells all of the people on the team when they're doing something wrong, which is like every second of the day.
Awesome.
What's the big bug? Come out to the warehouse, because there's some cool stuff to see out here. It's cool visuals. Tommy, bring your guitar here. It's better acoustics.
Let me show you some of the other puppets and characters that are here at the Neverhood.
This is one of the big monsters. Come around here, there's a little bit more light. No. There! This guy's one of the main bad guys, and this shows how we can move him one frame at a time, and open and close the mouth. This is one of the evil Skullmonkeys that chases Claymon around the planet.
One frame at a time, you're in hell.
This is probably the most valuable player on the entire team, the Makita Drill. This is the cool crystal wand that we all have, we worship every day. This is kind of our little cult we have going here. We stockpile firearms upstairs. And it's all for the great wand. It's whatever it wants us to do. Whatever it wands us to do. That was nice. This is the chip butty, which our English friends will appreciate, the French fry sandwich. Only the English could come up with something as wonderful of a recipe as the chip butty, the French fry sandwich. Fine cuisine over there, I understand. This house is kind of broken out in sores, which happens if you take a chip butty and like rub it all over your face. The next day you get some of this effect. This is the evil wizard. All this little garment blows in the breeze in the game. Another cool puppet. This is El Barfo, the monkey that throws himself up inside out. This is Claymon in a little ship. He's all clay, his little hair moves. This is what the ink's skeleton looks like. This is the armature that goes underneath the clay. You can move it a little bit, and they're all metal, ball and socket, and covered in clay. This is Headless Willie. He's a crazy man. Crazy. Has no head, has no hands either. Because they say that he bit his own hands off right before he bit his own head off.
crazy. And this is how we let the little people out of our head. Crazy. Oh, cool! Look, it's Earthworm!
Yeah,
man, this thing is so cool! Look at this thing! Oh, Doug, I'm sorry. We'll put some kind of... Jeez, this will be okay. We're just gonna put it...
That's it.
Kind of...
Get out.
Hey,
You're going out.
But wait.
No,
my stuff
I don't think so.
Here with it. Ow. Hey, Doug, well, I'll see you later, Doug.
You come back and I'll call the cops.
Hi, I'm Doug Tenaple, and I'm the original creator of Earthworm Jim and the Neverhood. We're here at Pencil Test Studios, where my partners on those projects actually taught me how to animate, and they are Ed Schofield and Mike Dietz. These guys helped me animate on every game I've worked on, and they're really kind of my secret weapon on Earthworm Jim and Neverhood. And we're getting back together to make a brand new game called Armikrog.
Over 20 years ago, we had the idea of creating artistically satisfying games, and we all love animation, and in particular, we love stop-motion animation.
So I've been talking to Doug a lot about what we wanted to work on next. We were looking for the right project, and it dawned on me, you know, we'd always looked fondly back upon our stop-motion projects together, and I thought, why don't we just do another stop-motion point-and-click adventure game? I said, look, just design whatever game, whatever property you think is going to be great for a stop-motion game. You know, no limits, don't worry about whether we can do it or not. And he just went nuts with drawing. He was just pouring ideas out. It was fantastic.
The game has got a space explorer named Tommyknot. He has this blind alien dog that's kind of like his drinking buddy. His name is Beak Beak. They crash land on a weird planet and end up locked in this mysterious fortress called Armikrog. But it's a point-and-click adventure game shot in stop-motion puppet animation and primarily made for PCs and Macs. Need I say more?
As you can see, we put the experience of the art first. We want every frame to be loaded with unique but approachable visuals, funky style, and fun creatures. The game not only features our animation, but has the voice work of Riff Track's Michael J. Nelson, Pinky and the Brain's Rob Paulson, PvP's Scott Kurtz, Napoleon Dynamite's John Heater, and Techzilla's Veronica Belmont. And finally, we're bringing back the Neverhood's Terry Taylor to write a brand new, completely original game score.
But I want to put that aside for a second. I want to talk about why we really work together. It's because we're pals, we're friends, and we bring out the very best from each other.
We realize the fun we have working together manifests itself into the games that we make. We've heard over the years from fans that the games always make them laugh and they have a great time.
We learn from each other. These guys taught me how to animate, how to create, and we make each other better.
So here's the deal. We've already started on a lot of the designs. We've worked through a lot of the puzzles already, but this game will never happen without your help.
This game isn't going to get made by a major publisher. This is one where we have to go directly to our fans and ask them for help if it's going to get made. So if you want this kind of a game, then believe me, this is the only way it's going to happen. And in advance, I can only say thank you.
I'm Ed Schofield. I am the owner and founder of Pencil Test Studios, and we are currently working on Armikrog, a video game made of clay and puppet animation.
Beak Beak, look at that. What do you make of this guy?
Ooh, an omelet.
Ooh.
Give me a hand, give me a hand.
Armikrog is a joint venture between Pencil Test Studios and Doug Tenaple. Doug was the creator of Earthworm Jim and the Neverhood. And we came up with this idea of kind of going back to sort of our glory days of the Neverhood and stop motion puppet animation. Mike Dietz, my business partner, and I put together a minute-long short along with Doug and pitched it out on Kickstarter, and now we're just waiting to see if we're going to get funded or not.
Let's get a look at the hull. Yeah, this does not look good.
I don't think our part insurance is gonna cover this. Our deductible is nuts too.
Tominot's an astronaut, and he crash lands on a strange and wonderful planet, and he gets trapped in this fortress called Armikrog, and the game is basically you playing as Tominot trying to get out of the fortress.
A lot of people ask us why we chose to do this in stop motion animation over standard digital animation, and that's sort of the answer to the question. Is it's standard digital animation. It just doesn't have the same charm and appeal that you get with stop motion animation. I don't know why it is. It has something to do with the imperfections that happen when it's a human being touching the puppet and moving it around that you don't get in CG, but I just think it's beautiful.
We're building sets and we're animating the characters on the sets. It's a very different look in terms of art direction, and it's a very different experience in terms of development as well.
For Pencil Test, this is the first Kickstarter campaign we've ever done, so we're new to this. One thing no one ever talked about that we weren't expecting was this community of backers that exists on Kickstarter, that they gravitate to projects and they rally around it, and they support it not just by backing it financially. They're spending their day doing marketing on our game. They gave themselves a name. They call themselves the Armikrog Army. I just wasn't expecting that, and I think it's really cool, and we're so grateful to those people that they're working as hard as we are on this thing. It's crazy, it's great. We love them. Armikrog is a point-and-click adventure game realized in stop-motion animation. This is Tominot, the main character from Armikrog. He was a creation of our pal Douglas Tenaple. We were getting ready to figure out what our next project would be, and we called up Doug and asked him if he had any ideas. He just started sending drawings and drawings and drawings, and it was really great stuff, and Tominot was the character that came out of that.
He's crash landed on this crazy planet, and he's stuck in a fortress called Armikrog. So he's trying to get out along with his sidekick, Beak.
Okay, Beak.
Tominot, the character, is an astronaut. He's someone that's aspiring to be a hero. He tends to move in what he thinks are heroic poses. So he'll strike a pose because he's seen it before. He's seen other people in heroic situations act that way, but he's not really feeling it from the inside.
He's the kind of guy who is not quite where he'd like to be in terms of his status as an astronaut.
Yeah, this does not look good.
Michael Nelson of Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater fame is the voice of Tominot.
Beak. Look at that. What do you make of this guy?
We were looking for somebody that kind of was a little bit of an everyman, played it a little straight. We didn't want any kind of over-the-top performance. And it's actually a really nice counterpart to Tommy's pal Beak, who is Rob Paulson.
Ooh, an omelet.
We had worked with Rob in the past. He always brings so much to the table in terms of personality and even content.
I don't think our part insurance is gonna cover this. Our deductible is nuts too.
Beak is Tommy's blind alien dog, but he's actually his best friend.
At times he's kind of the voice of reason, but he's also a wisecracking guy that likes to have a good time.
We'd never done a game where you could switch control between two characters. Tommy and Beaky were such a cool little team together that we wanted to try it where you could switch between the characters and do different things with each character. Beaky's much smaller than Tommy, so obviously he can fit into areas that Tommy can't fit into. Tommy, he's a bigger character, he's stronger, he can push things around. He's got opposable thumbs, so he can pick things up. He can climb on things, so he does things that Beaky can't do as well.
Once he was designed, one of the first things we started to do was some pencil test animation, which are hand-drawn animations of the characters, kind of exploring some of their personality, the way they might walk or move.
So once we have a design that we're happy with and it's ready to make the jump from paper drawings to something dimensional, the first step is to create the skeleton for the character. So in stop motion, inside these characters are little skeletons called armatures. We'll design these armatures to fit the proportions of the character that we have in the drawing. I'll mount it to a piece of wood and then sculpt using plasticine what the character is going to look like over that armature. From that sculpt, we make a mold, and then using that mold, we put the armature in the mold and then inject foam rubber into the mold. And when that dries, we paint it with this special, it's called Pax paint, and you get a character like this. He looks like he's made out of clay, and we sculpt it so it looks that way, but this is far more durable than clay.
That gives us a physical puppet that we can bring on set and begin the stop motion animation process. There's this magic when things all start to come together. You've done your animation, you've done your backgrounds, you're putting it in the game, you're seeing everything work together, and it's fun and it's interesting and it looks unique.
And that's how we brought Tommy Knot to life. Hope you enjoy the game. Check it out.
Give me a hand, give me a hand!
What's up guys, John will stay on target here. Recently, I had the chance to go out to Lake Forest, California and visit Pencil Test Studios. They're currently in development on the game Armikrog. These are the guys that brought you games like Earthworm Jim and the Neverhood. This game is being billed as the spiritual successor of the Neverhood in that it's being made in the exact same way with clay. What's up guys, this is John with Stay on Target. I'm sitting here at Pencil Test Studios World Headquarters in Lake Forest, California. Alright, so now I'm standing here with Lou Gigliotti.
That's right.
And we are standing here in the room. We've got some small miniatures here. What exactly goes on in this room here?
Well, this area of the warehouse is where we create what we call room boxes, but essentially in more of a common games parlance, these are the levels.
Nice.
All right? So, and as you can see, we kind of start with these wood frames that we build together. And these are actually built to exact specifications based on, the aspect ratio, all kinds of things.
Awesome.
Because when you're playing a game like Armikrog, just like the Neverhood, when you transition from room to room, those camera transitions have to be really smooth, the framing of the shot.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that all rooms are the same size.
Yeah.
We're building, another room we're building now is going to be tall and thin. But we have templates that we use for all the different types of room shapes. So we start off with these wood things. And then essentially, I can take you over here, what happens is we've got something like this.
Yeah.
Which I'm just showing you a version, the uncolored version, but basically this would be completely colored in with, whatever markers, whatever we need to get the color that we need. So this shows you what the shape of the room needs to be like, also the color scheme. And then what we quickly do is we come over and we melt clay.
Nice.
And we create recipes. And what we do is we try and match a color to the color in the drawing we have.
Excellent.
And that actually is what we call a recipe.
Yeah.
And we keep really close tabs on that mixture ratio.
Yeah.
Right. So what we do is, for instance here, you'll see to make the exact pink we want for the scales in that room, it's actually 4 white blocks and 1 red.
Nice.
Right. And that actually took a while to do to get the exact color. But then we've got the formula. So if we need to make it again, we've got the formula. And it's not a very high-tech operation. Basically, we use the hot plates that you would see in like a college dorm room.
Yeah.
Turn that thing up to 11, get it nice and hot. Have like turkey pans,
Yeah.
And we put blocks of clay. They come in about 2-pound blocks. We order about 200 pounds of clay at a time.
Gotcha.
Once it gets mixed and put in there, then we come back over here.
Okay.
And you'll kind of see how this is set up. This is a room in progress. This room will become a very pink and red and purple version of this right here.
Gotcha. And Ed was working on the asset for one of those. Yeah.
This little room. So you see in here, this is just the base. We start laying in clay for a base coat. And then what we do in this case, we built all these scales individually.
Yeah.
And all the props for the room individually. So you saw Ed over there. He's kind of building this crazy pod that will open up, and this crazy character will come out and talk and close. And then once the set is built and it looks exactly like the concept drawing, everything looks good, then we light it and we shoot it. And essentially, this is a version of a finished one that we just finished yesterday. I always say we're kind of like craftsmen of making video games, like we're craftsmen,
Yeah.
And because we make everything by hand, you can see all the clay is all kind of kneaded by hand. And,
yeah.
And so we'll take a set like this, and then we light this thing, and then we shoot it here with our camera.
Yeah.
And then it all gets sent over here to the computer, and this is where we keep all the frames. We test the lighting, if anything needs to get adjusted. We do that all here, so we know exactly what the shot's going to look like.
That's awesome.
And then the shot's ready. Then we might take it into post and play around with it a little bit. But 90% of the heavy lifting is done right here.
That's amazing. I'm now standing here next to Mike Dietz, and he's standing in the capture room. This is a separate room from the other stuff here. So go ahead and tell everybody kind of what happens in this room that's unique to this room.
Well, we call this our green room.
Yeah.
Because this is where we shoot the green screen animation.
Yeah.
And this is where all of the interactive gameplay animation is shot for the game.
Yeah.
So that we shoot small modules of animation like a walk cycle or pushing a button or picking something up against the green screen, and then that allows us to drop out the background, and then we can composite that in real time in the game engine on the different rooms where it's taking place. The gameplay stuff, you never know where the character's going to walk or what he's going to do in different positions. So,
cool.
I mean, it's that's pretty standard gameplay stuff.
Right.
It's just that usually people don't shoot it in stop motion for gameplay. This is the software we use to capture the frames. It's called Dragon Frame, and it's software made specifically for stop motion.
Yeah.
And to be used with digital SLR cameras.
Great.
So this plugs right in, and the camera talks to the software, and the software talks to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually got it set up so that the software talks to all the lights too. What I end up with is the first shot is my beauty shot, and that's where the lighting on the puppet is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
The second shot is a green screen shot, so if I need to pull green screen, I can do that. And then the third is I'll end up pulling, it's called a luminance mat out of it. I'll basically make it a black and white image, and that's where I'll get my alpha channel.
Gotcha.
And you get a really nice clean alpha channel there without getting too much green spill.
Makes sense.
Here's one of the captured frames, and that's his starting position. Comes over and puts his hands out.
Wow.
And then you'll see there's some mouth frames in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little separate
hand
hand gesture that we'll use back and forth. You know, if you want an action to take a certain period of time, how many frames it needs to be.
Okay.
And if you want it to feel like it accelerates and decelerates,
gotcha.
That's how you space the drawings. If it's a fast run, the actual time each stride takes will be short.
Okay.
And the spacing between the frames would be large. So you get a fast movement. So you'll see, it'll get cropped somewhere around there.
Okay.
At first, the frames are really close together.
Yeah.
And then they get further and further apart as it speeds up. And then towards the end, they're very close together.
Yeah.
So the effect is that
you
see it accelerating and coming down.
That's awesome.
Essentially, we start with a design doc. Yeah. And what that lets us do, like every design doc, kind of go, hey, yeah, this looks and feels about right. X levels and X, all the macro decisions can get made at the document level.
Yeah.
But you don't know anything until you get it in a game, right?
Right.
Like any design doc, half of the things sound great on paper, end up sucking when you implement it. And some of the peripheral ideas that you had on paper you didn't think were going to be that important are awesome when you get it in game, and then you have to adjust, right?
Right.
But what that lets you do, like any game design doc, is kind of at a macro level make some decisions. But this process of going from the game review doc into here lets us make some micro decisions, right?
Right.
And those micro decisions was like, yeah, that sounded great in the doc, but in here it's not fun.
Right.
So let's change it.
Yeah.
Before we get into the warehouse and spend a lot of time and effort physically crafting the game space out of clay and wood and glue and chicken wire and whatever else we could find. So again, this is what Unity allows us to do. It allows us to quickly mock everything up in pencil test form and test every aspect of the gameplay.
Yeah.
So when you start the game, you start in this room, and just like the Neverhood, you're like, where am I? You got to figure this out. Like any good puzzle adventure, a point-and-click puzzle adventure game, it's always about, I'm here, what do I have to do next? And then solving all the puzzles along the way. In this case, there's a door, and it's locked. You can't get through there. And you can see on the ground, there's this little lever, and you go, I wonder what that is. And on the wall, there's this weird little thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe the lever goes in there. But let's say if you just want to explore the room, there's a window looking outside. You click on the window, and you see what's going on outside, this crazy thing chasing these things around. But again, what this lets us do is not only lets us pencil test the gameplay, but it lets us pencil test the in-game cinematics.
Yeah.
And that again is very expensive to do in stop motion. Pretty much impossible because you can't really edit it after you shoot, right?
Right.
But then, it lets us test gameplay. What happens if I pick that up? Oh, cool, look, I stick something in my chest. That means I have an inventory. Oh, yeah. Cool. And then, later on, this is early playable, but some of the later versions we had where you can click and check out your inventory. And then, I click around the room, nothing's happening, but let me click on this thing. Oh, before nothing happened, but now that I have the thing, I pull the lever, and I walk back over here, and I realize, now the door's open. I can walk through.
Excellent.
So yeah, so this lets us try all kinds of things. Gameplay, basic locomotion. Test audio.
Test audio.
Is audio working? Oh wow, cool. The pushing, being able for our Tommy to push things around. That feels good, Of course, when you first put this in, it probably doesn't feel good or doesn't isn't responsive or there's bugs. So, yeah, this is what using Unity allowed us to do, and this is what we couldn't do in the Neverhood because we had to build a proprietary engine from the ground up to make the game. But Unity has kind of afforded us the ability to iterate.
Perfect.
And that iteration just means a better game in the end.
To pick up your copy of the game, make sure you go to Armikrog.com. For more extended interviews with the guys from Pencil Test Studios, make sure you go to StayOnTargetPodcast.com. Well, I'm John, and I'll see you next time on Stay on Target.
It's a really creative environment. Like I said, we all trust each other. We're all professionals. We all know what we're doing, and except for Mike when he throws clay at me from across the room.
Well, I noticed whenever he walked in just a second ago, you started talking good about everybody. You were...
Well, I didn't want to say it on camera, but Mike's a child essentially, and I have to stop it. Stop throwing stuff. Yes. So aside from Mike, everybody here is a mature adult.
Completely professional.
No, but this is the environment. We like it. I love it. We come in. The typical day is we come in. We do have the one thing that's kind of professional about where we have morning stand-ups.
Nice.
We sit down and we. Oh, good. Thank you very much. Thanks. Now get back to work. How much clay did I just lose? Because
but you gained a hug, man. It was great.
There's nothing like a Schofield hug, I have to admit. I feel tingly inside.
Let's go look at some cool stuff now. Here's a close-up of Tommyknot on the spaceship set. You can see the puppet. This is where I spent a lot of time animating these guys. It was really fun. Here's all Tommyknot's mouths. That's how we make them talk. Just replace these frame by frame. These here are Beak tongues. These are the replacement tongues I used when Beak was licking Tommyknot's face. Here's the bottom of Tommy's feet. And here's a bunch of eyes. This is how we make Tommyknot blink. That eye is half closed. There's a squinty eye. This is one of the green screen sets where we shoot all the animation that's going to be composited onto different backgrounds. And here's the set from the opening shot, which is shot at a smaller scale than the close-ups of our heroes. So you can see the ship here is really tiny. And this is just a stand-in, and then we composited the big ship into this shot afterwards through the magic of computers. And this is one of the sets that you see in the movie when Tommyknot walks across and presses that button there. And you can see it's like a diorama, and it's actually built into this big box. Thanks for visiting. See you next time.
Make me do the way we dance, tell our people